Hello everyone, this is John Dacey with Abolish Private Prisons, a nonprofit public interest law firm based in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to again address the Christian Community Development Association at your annual Locked in Solidarity event. The last time I had the opportunity to do this was in 2019, so I'd like to provide you with some updated information. In June of 2020, we filed our first lawsuit to challenge the constitutionality of prison privatization in the federal court in Phoenix. We represent 5 individuals who are incarcerated in private prisons in Arizona through the Arizona Department of Corrections. We represent a purported class of all such prisoners in Arizona, of which there are approximately 8,000 on any given day in private prisons in Arizona through the Arizona Department. And we represent the Arizona State Conference of the NAACP. As expected, the defendant of the Department of Corrections filed a motion to dismiss our lawsuit. We filed our response, and the state has filed its reply brief. And the motion is fully briefed. We're waiting on the court to set a hearing or to issue a ruling. The Day One Alliance, the trade association of private prison corporations, has also filed an amicus curiae brief in the case. Amicus curiae being the Latin phrase for friend of the court. We expect other amicus curiae briefs to be filed in the case. We're waiting, and there is delay in the courthouse because of COVID, just like in anything else involving our communities right now. With regard to recent activities regarding private prisons, the state is looking to expand its use of private prison beds. They're considering adding 3,000 more, and we'll wait and see what kind of developments occur there. Of course, we have a new administration in Washington, D.C., and candidates Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both included in their platform stopping the federal government's use of private for-profit prisons. We'll see what kind of development comes from that. We would guess that at the very least they may decide to honor existing contracts which run for years, and any activity at the federal level will not necessarily impact the states and local governments' use of private prisons and jails, which is the process through which most people are incarcerated in private prisons. So we still have our work cut out for us. We're contemplating filing additional lawsuits against other governmental entities, including the federal government, for its use of private prisons in Arizona, for example. As you might expect, COVID is a significant issue with regard to people who are in prison, public and private. From a very practical standpoint, it affects lawyers and their ability to actually meet with their clients. So there is first of all, the facility barriers, deciding to lock down, not allow additional people to come in, including lawyers. And then, of course, lawyers like myself, for example, need to be careful about where we go until this pandemic is in a safer situation. So it affects the ability to provide some legal services, especially in civil rights cases as opposed to criminal defense cases. And it affects the prisoners and the people who work in the prisons as well. There are so many people coming and going each day in a prison, and prisoners are not able to isolate as people on the outside can. So for example, you may have 30, 40, 60 people in a single dormitory room with bunk beds that are just 3 feet apart and one above the next, and using common areas for shower and bathroom facilities. The ability to socially isolate simply isn't there. And some of the clients I've talked to, people incarcerated, have even expressed to me their fear about coming forward with symptoms because one of the consequences of such a symptom could be that they're placed in segregated incarceration. So putting that aside, of course, prisons can serve as incubators for the virus itself. And so hopefully we'll have this situation under control at the prison level very soon with the new administration pushing out a much more aggressive policy toward dealing with the virus at the federal level. So what can you do? If you're interested in helping sustain this effort, what can you do? Well, there are a number of faith communities that have adopted resolutions to call for abolition of private for-profit prisons on theological, moral, and constitutional grounds. There are divestment campaigns where, for example, churches, universities, public employees, and the like have decided to make certain that their investments do not include investments in the private prison corporations that are publicly traded, such as CoreCivic and the GEO Group, the two largest. Then there is, of course, the ability to be an active citizen, writing letters to the editor, writing letters to your elected officials, urging them to discontinue the use of private for-profit prisons. In the case, to be quite certain, it is our belief that incarcerating people through private enterprise and for-profit is a violation of the U.S. Constitution in several respects, not the least of which is we regard incarcerating people for profit, private profit, as a form of slavery. And it should be abolished throughout the United States. That is our goal, to put this issue before the United States Supreme Court and to get a nationwide ruling that calls for abolition. So if you think of Brown versus Board of Education as a model, that's what we have in mind. There are other things you can do. Please take a look at our website, abolishprivateprisons.org, which is listed on this screen. You can see some of the other resolutions from groups of faith, civic organizations, civil rights organizations, and the like as models for what I'm suggesting to you. There are other things you can do if you're so inclined. Of course, we need lawyers and we need funding to take this issue before the U.S. Supreme Court. If you're so inclined, make a donation, and just as importantly, spread the word to your many friends and neighbors that you do support the cause and ask them to consider doing the same. Once again, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you again, and keep the faith. We'll keep at it and ask you to as well. Thank you so much.